For nearly 79 years, one of America's most iconic passenger trains carried travelers from the capital through the mountains of West Virginia and into the heart of the country. My name is Jake, and you're watching the American Railroads Project, and this is the story of the Fast Flying Virginian. In the spring of 1889, the Chesapeake Ohio Railway introduced a service that would become its longest-running named passenger train, the Fast Flying Virginian. Known simply as the FFV, on May 11th, 1889, this daytime train began carrying passengers between Washington, D.C. and Cincinnati, Ohio, forging a route that spanned roughly 600 miles of American landscape. From its earliest days, the FFV was not just another train, it was a symbol of progress. It was the first in the C&O system to feature a dining car, a luxury that allowed passengers to savor meals on board, and it offered cars with enclosed vestibules, making travel safer and more comfortable. The train's journey began in the nation's capital, where it connected with service from the Pennsylvania Railroad and then swept westward through Virginia's rolling countryside. Along the way, it stopped in cities like Alexandria and Charlottesville, climbed over the Blue Ridge Mountains, swept through the scenic New River Gorge in West Virginia, and finally crossed the Ohio River into Cincinnati. For many travelers, the FFV meant more than transportation. It was their gateway to distant family, business opportunities, and the world beyond the horizon. But even the most storied trains were not immune to tragedy. In October 1890, just a year after it began service, the Fast Flying Virginian was involved in a horrific wreck near Hinton, West Virginia, when a rock slide derailed the train. The engineer, George Washington Alley, lost his life trying to stop the train and save his passengers. His heroic actions were immortalized in a folk ballad variously known as The Wreck on the C&O, Engine 143, and the FFV, a haunting reminder of the risk and romance of early rail travel. Through the decades, the FFV continued to evolve. It carried businessmen and families, featured in timetables alongside other celebrated trains like the George Washington and the Sportsman, and it remained a fixture on the rails even as automobiles and airplanes began to dominate long-distance travel. But by the 1960s, the golden age of passenger rail in America was fading. Railroads across the country were losing money on passenger service, a reality made worse when the U.S. Post Office canceled its mail contracts in the late 60s, stripping away critical revenue for railroads. And so, on May 12, 1968, the Fast Flying Virginian made its final run, bringing to an end an era, not just for one train, but for privately operated long-distance passenger rail service in the United States. 2 years later, Amtrak would be formed to pick up the mantle of inner-city passenger service nationwide. The legacy of the Fast Flying Virginian lives on. Today, Amtrak's Cardinal follows much of the same route from Washington and New York to Cincinnati, echoing the path once taken by the Fast Flying Virginian. And the ballads and stories that sprung from its peaks and valleys, especially the folk songs born from that 1890 wreck, remind us that this train wasn't just metal and steam, it carried stories of ambition, adventure, and the enduring spirit of American railroading.